Hello again, my name is Matt Hands over in the School of Education. I want to share a tool with you called Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a video-based discussion tool that kind of boosts the interactivity and engagement in classroom discussions for your students, and also creates different opportunities for you kind of assess their learning and be able to input rubrics for evaluation purposes. So whether you teach online or face-to-face, I think we all try to get the maximum amount of participation out of our students as possible, but sometimes there's some barriers to that. Sometimes we turn any type of dialogue that may exist in our classroom into a monologue, and we take the opportunity to give direct instruction to our students, and we take that a little bit too far, and we kind of eliminate any time frame that we could put in there for our students to respond. So sometimes the opportunity is just not as present to students as possible. Other times we do give students that opportunity, but their level of interest maybe is not so high, and we don't really mandate their participation. We just kind of open it up for discussion and nobody has anything to say. So to combat that, some of us tend to use the discussion tool that's available on Canvas, where we put in a discussion prompt and students have to reply with a written response. Sometimes those get a little bit formulaic, where you'll notice that the responses tend to look the same. Students will reply to each other if that's a requirement of your discussion, and everyone will say, "Hey, John, I loved your post," and just very kind of affirming responses on there with nothing really critical or no real unique input. So Flipgrid is something you can use to kind of merge the world of face-to-face discussion and the world of online discussion in one using video tools. So this is the main website that you would go to sign up. And up in the right-hand corner, you'll notice an educator sign up. So you'll click there. You can just use your Gmail account to sign up. Since I already have one, I'll click down here and go ahead and log in as myself. And when you log in, the first thing you'll see is your dashboard. And you might have like an introduction grid on here. And basically these grids are your classes. So you'll notice that I have a few of the classes that I teach on here, as well as a test one that I've kind of set up. So to create a new one, you'll click this little multicolored button that says Add New Grid, which is, again, adding another class that you're going to have students participate in. You can kind of give your class a name, so I'll just call this one Test. Down here, you're going to create a flip code, which is basically the extension of the web address on here that they'll go to. So for me, I might just call it EDU 101. And it'll let you know if it's available or not. And if it's not, you just kind of tweak that until you find something that works. And then up here, you're kind of selecting a way that students can participate and sign up for your grid. So I always select school email. And when I go to this next page, this is where I can select the certain extensions for email addresses that'll be allowed in this grid. So this is where you would type in @bulldogs.barton.edu or @barton.edu, and it'll only allow students that have email addresses with that extension on it into your class. So kind of remember this part that I've typed in down here, that EDU 101, and I'm going to show you one that I've already created. So this test Flipgrid down here, I've already made in advance. You can add images and things like that to it. But this is my flip code for this particular class. So I called this one, the web address would be flipgrid.com/testing. So what I would do to get my students to join this class or this grid on here is just share that link with them, and they can go ahead and log in using their Barton email address. So once they're part of this class, there are different topics, and these are basically your discussion prompts that you would have created in Canvas. It's just you're creating them on here and making them video-based. So I've made one down here that I've already created that I got a response to, thanks to Greg. So when you're setting these different topics up, you can include different levels of detail, and I'll kind of walk you through that process. But it works very similar to how the discussion posts on Canvas work. So you just give your prompt a title in here. You can select a range for anywhere from 15 seconds to 5 minutes on here. And that'll kind of set the limit for how long their videos have to be. You can put your entire prompt in here as long as it's within 500 characters. And then down below, you'll notice a more options feature up here. You can select little things like I put that little Forrest Gump, GIF in there. Down here, you can add a little bit more detail if you have a certain tip that you want to include for your discussion post. You can add other resources, external resources that you want them to visit as part of the requirements for the discussion post. Set when it opens and when it closes. Little settings on who can like and who can respond to it. And then down here is really kind of the important feature. So if you're wanting to assess their work and their discussion quality on this website, instead of inputting it, as an isolated grade and maybe create an external rubric on Canvas, you can do that by selecting custom feedback on here. And I've already got two areas in here that I just put in, which is the content and the clarity. So basically it'll grade them on the clarity of their speech and their video, as well as the content of what they say. So this is all it takes to create the actual post itself, or the actual topic that they'll respond to. I'll show you from a student's perspective what this would look like. So I created a grid on here, and it was just kind of a test one on here where I said to upload a 15-second clip introducing yourself, and luckily Greg has done that for us. So from a student's perspective, this is what they would see. They would see your prompt, any tip that you would include, any resources that you put on here for external websites. They'd click this button to actually record their video, and then they can also view classmates' video. So when you click that, it just pops up a video, and there's Greg speaking to us, giving his 15-second introduction. They can like the videos from here. They can make it full screen. They can add a written reply down here if they want to. So again, you can still have the requirement for them to reply to one another's post if that's something you would do with the written discussions in Canvas. You can still do it on here. And then back from an instructor's perspective, here's what I would see on mine. So I would go ahead and click on here, and anyone that's replied to this topic, I would be able to see their video. Same thing would kind of happen where it would pop up, be viewable to me in here. I could leave a written reply either down here as a reply or comments that just go to Greg himself. I can select on my scale of 1 to 10 or whatever point values I put in for the different criteria that go on the rubric. So for content and clarity, I can choose, what his grade would be on here. I can edit the rubric if for some reason something changes. And then I can also give video feedback. So if there's something that I wanted to comment on, you're given up to 5 minutes of feedback time that you can leave for each student on there. So really, these are the basics behind Flipgrid. And again, the benefit of this is really increasing the engagement and the interactivity with your students by getting them to record themselves instead of just kind of like the humdrum, putting down the words. I always consider myself more of a visual learner. So if I'm somebody that's trying to get interested in a topic, simply reading people write about it is maybe not the most engaging way to do it. But if you're seeing what people have to say and hearing what they have to say and kind of seeing them, not necessarily in live time or real time, but you're seeing a video of them explaining it, again, you're kind of merging what you would want in the classroom, where you want your students to engage in that conversation face to face, but you're also quantifying it. You're able to evaluate it and assess it and put a grade to it to make sure that everybody is participating equally. So it's a very easy tool to use. The students pick up on it very easily. But if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email or drop by anytime.